Hey guys, it's the WalterFootball.com After Dark Show for March 12th, 2025. Going to be doing the 2025 NFL free agency grades that we've had so far. Also grades for the trades that we've seen in the past 2 days. So going to get right to it. Going to do a quick intro. So please hit like, subscribe, comment below, share this video. Visit the link in the description for the merch store. As always, I'm wearing an A01 t-shirt, something for the merch store. Do not buy AMC stock. That is financial advice. But you can buy one of these shirts. That would be appreciated. We have a bunch of shirts on here, some mugs. Everything's 15% off, so all that will be helpful. Also, you can go to Amazon, buy my most recent book, Jerks of the College Years, where I made fun of people I met at Penn State for 6 years. So if you guys like writing where people make fun of other people, then you guys might enjoy this book. Also, please consider super chats and super stickers. It's the best way to support the show. We had some great ones last week. Yes. John Sanders, Slew, Degeneron, Alan Stafford, Cam McNeagle, the boss, and we had a new super chatter as well on I believe it was Saturday. He gave us a $10 super chat, so just really appreciate it. And really, it's the best way to support the show, as I always say, because YouTube ads pay us nothing. Like it's like 80 cents to $1 a show if we don't get a super chat. So I could go walk outside for like 10 minutes and find some change and do better than we do with the YouTube ads. So it really appreciate it. Can't say enough how much your contributions mean to us. All right, so let's get to these. Let's do the trades first. And if you guys have any questions, as you can see, I'm flying solo here. You can ask me anything. It doesn't have to be about football. I'll answer anything as long as it doesn't harm anyone. But you guys know how we do if we're solo here, because I don't have to worry about anyone getting into trouble or anything. We had one trade today. The Texans and Eagles traded. The Texans got Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Eagles got Kenyon Green, and they swapped 6th-rounders. I was kind of confused by this. Usually the Eagles are the team winning the trade, and it seems like they lost the trade. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is a really good safety. Played well last year. Now, there were concerns that he was troublesome in the locker room, but that didn't really affect them last year. They won the Super Bowl, obviously, so it didn't seem like it really impacted them that much. And Kenny Green has been such a bust. Now, maybe the Eagles see something in him. They're kind of notorious for having a great offensive line, so maybe their coaches think they could coach him up or something. And who knows? Like maybe he'll amount to something. He was the 15th overall pick, but he's looked awful. He's been the worst starting guard in the NFL. So it's hard to see like why the Eagles made this trade. So Texans they won this trade with Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, but the Texans have made a lot of other weird moves as we'll see. Yesterday, the Browns got Kenny Pickett from the Eagles for Dorian Thompson-Robinson and a 5th-round pick. I actually got an email from a Browns fan saying it was like Kenny Pickett for a 5th. Like shaking my head. It was like. He was pretty frustrated, and it's easy to see why. But Pickett's still a young guy. He could develop into something. Who knows? I think Kevin Stefanski might give him a chance to do that, but I wouldn't be too optimistic. But still, it's like he's still better than Dorian Thompson-Robinson. Still, though, I think I'd rather have the 5th-rounder. So I think the Eagles won this trade to give him an A-, Browns a B. And by the way, for the grades, the other trade, Texans got an A, Eagles got a D, which is again, who knows? Maybe the Eagles will have something up their sleeve there, but it's hard to see it right now. The big trade from yesterday was the Redskins getting Laremy Tunsil from the Texans. So basically, like there are 2 4th-rounders involved. Those are a wash. There's a 7th-rounder, which is irrelevant mostly. So really, this is Tunsil for a 2026 second and a 2025 third. That's basically it. And so the Redskins don't have to relinquish anything beyond a 3rd-round pick for Tunsil until next April, and they give up the 2nd-round pick. So this is a great trade for them. And I as a new Redskins fan, I always say that I'm a fan of the teams I bet on. As a new Redskins fan, I was very happy to see this trade. They needed a left tackle, and Laremy Tunsil's elite still. He is getting up there in age. I think he's 31, but right now, like if they're trying to win this year, obviously they are because they have Jaden Daniels, and he's in a rookie contract, so they can sign a bunch of guys. It's pretty wise to go all in right now, and Tunsil can help them win right now. So now with Tunsil and Deebo Samuel, they've improved a lot. So I'm excited as a new Redskins fan. I can't wait for the season, and I'm pretty excited for my my 22-1 ticket on the Redskins. So it's right now I think it's down to 19-1 to FanDuel, which I think is still too high. We've discussed I think we talked about DK Metcalf on Saturday. So it was a good trade for the Steelers. I can understand why Seattle did it. They didn't have the leverage. And then the Saints got Davon Godchaux and the Patriots from 7th-round picks. Like, I don't know why they did that. I mean, Godchaux's not that good, and if they could have gotten someone comparable in free agency, but like it's not going to like move the needle here. 7th-round picks, like who cares? Like I said, mostly irrelevant. Patrick says Russia-Ukraine ceasefire is great, but why are they resuming intel arms shipments to Ukraine? McGregor on Tucker show was baffled by that. Yeah, I don't get it either. I wish they would stop doing that. I still like money laundering scam. I think it's that's like the easiest explanation, right? It's like Occam's razor. It's like the easiest, the most simplest explanation is the right one, and that is someone's profiting off of it. So far, I'm liking the Giants' moves. Just don't know when they will be competitive again. Yeah, that's the issue. We'll see what they do in the draft. Obviously, they still have to resolve the quarterbacking situation, but I assume they're going to try to trade up to number one. But we'll have to see. The Titans still have to sign their quarterback. Okay, so let's get to the signings here. There are a lot of them. That's why I did like this brief intro. So we'll do in reverse chronological order. The Bills signed Joey Bosa. This just happened like 2 hours ago. I mean, this could put the Bills over the top. Joey Bosa has some concerns. He's 30, he's injury prone, but when he plays and he's healthy, he's very dominant, and that's what you need to beat Patrick Mahomes. You need a 4-man pass rush that can get to him consistently, and it's so good that you don't have to blitz. Like the Eagles didn't blitz a single time in the Super Bowl. That was so crucial in beating him because Mahomes is so great against the blitz. And Bosa will allow that to happen. I love the signing. It's only 1 year, so even if he doesn't pan out, it's not like the Bills are going to be very penalized for it. So I love the signing. I'm curious to hear what John Sanders has to say. But yeah, big fan of this, and I think this might push the Bills ahead of the Chiefs. 49ers signed Demarcus Robinson, 2 years, $9.5 million. So they needed a veteran receiver, so I gave this a B plus. They traded Debo, Brandon Ayuk towards ACL, so he's not going to be playing for a while. So it's really just Jawan Jennings and Ricky Pearsall, like not much experience there. So adding a veteran is pretty good. Plus they get to steal from we're rivals, which is never a bad thing. Raiders got Eric Stokes, 1 year, $4 million, to give it a B minus. He has not shown anything. He was a first-round pick, so there's still some potential. He's still somewhat young, but he has shown no glimpses of being like a productive player in the NFL at all. Maybe he turns things around, but I doubt it. But still, only 1 year, $4 million. Not a big deal if it doesn't pan out. Might as well take a shot. Browns re-signed Devin Bush, A grade. This is a 3.25 million signing. 1 year, 3.325 million signing. So this is sort of like Eric Stokes, whereas like Devin Bush is a former first-round bust. But I feel like unlike Stokes, like Bush is someone where if he were like a 4th-round pick, people would be like, oh, he's done well in his career to carve out like a nice career for himself. Whereas like Stokes, everyone would be like, oh, this guy sucks. Like Bush at least is productive on the field. Like he's really good against the run. He struggles in pass protection. So he's not an every down player, but it's not like the Browns are paying him to be an every down player. They're paying him to be a 2-down linebacker, which is exactly what it should be. So I like this move. Again, no risk here, and he's going to have a good role in this team. So I like this as a cheap option, although I'm sure Steeler fans probably hate it. Titans signed Xavier Woods, 2 years, $10 million. I gave this a B. A couple years ago, it would have been much higher in the signing. Xavier Woods really he struggled last year. It wasn't his best. And he's 30 now, so this could be permanent. There is a chance he bounces back, but I'm not really high on Tennessee. Not sure what they're doing. If they had Mike Vrabel, I'd be more confident that he can get something out of Woods. But right now, it looks like Tennessee's coaching staff's kind of like a disaster. So let's just keep Bosa in quarantine until the playoffs. Yeah, just keep him in a bubble, like the bubble boy. I'm a big fan of that. Schramm, hey Cinder, how's it going? Pat says Matt Taibbi said regarding NFL free agency, wait for confirmation unless Jets sign Vicious McTavish for 6 years, $310 million. Then it's true. It's a nice one. All right, moving on. The Ravens signed DeAndre Hopkins, 1 year, $5 million. I give this a C. People are, I'm sure, going to applaud this. Hopkins has been a great receiver. Might make it to the Hall of Fame one day. but he's old now. He's 33. He had a nice game for the Chiefs against, I believe it was against the Saints or Buccaneers. I think it was the Buccaneers. Actually, I think it was Tampa on a Monday night during the middle of the season, and then he just disappeared. He didn't do anything after that. He had like one or two maybe decent games, but for the most part, he was just a ghost. He barely played at the end of the year. He had like 15 snaps for most of the games. And in the Super Bowl, he dropped the biggest pass he's gotten to him in his career. Is unbelievable. Like I said this before on the show, I'm like, it's kind of like mind-boggling. Like this guy's had such a great career. He's waited his entire life to be on the stage in the Super Bowl, and then a pass gets thrown to him, and if he catches it, he probably catches a touchdown, or at least sets him up at first and goal at the 10 or something. And he just dropped it. It's crazy. So he's 33 now. It's hard to see how this moves the needle. The Ravens have signed old receivers before, and it hasn't panned out, like Odell Beckham. This feels pretty similar. So I don't think this is going to amount to much. Bills re-signed Ty Johnson. Is an easy A grade, 2 years, $5 million. That's nothing. Ty Johnson's a nifty receiver out of the backfield. So I like this move. It's not going to have a major impact, but it was a really good move for the Bills to keep their guy. Dolphins signed Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, 2 years, $6.5 million, and given an A. Westbrook-Ikhine had a pretty solid year last year. He caught a bunch of touchdowns, and so I thought he was going to get a big contract. We've seen Gabe Davis get what did he get, 3 years, $30 million or something, maybe more. And I thought Westbrook-Ikhine was going to get the same thing because he caught all those touchdowns, but apparently not. Only 2 years, $6.5 million. It seems pretty reasonable, and you don't see too many reasonable receiver contracts these days. So it's kind of caught me off guard. But the Dolphins needed depth at receiver, so they got it here. Cardinals signed Jacoby Brissett, 1 year, $10 million. He's a premium quarterback. And I think if you had to rank all the NFL teams that needed a viable backup quarterback, Arizona's near the tops, Arizona, Miami in some order, and then onward, because both their quarterbacks are so injury prone. Kyler Murray's had only one full season in his career. So getting a good backup quarterback is pretty important here if the Cardinals want to make a run into the playoffs, which I think they could. They have a decent team. It's nice that Brissett played for the Arizona's offensive coordinator, Drew Petzing, in Cleveland. Petzing was he was the quarterback's coach back in 2022. So Brissett actually played well that year. So it's nice to see that he's going here. I actually think I projected Brissett to go here last offseason. That didn't happen, but this move does make a lot of sense. Saints signed Justin Reed, 3 years, $31.5 million. You're going to see this. The Saints signed a bunch of guys. I'm wait a second, they don't have any cap space. How do you do that? And I'm just envisioning Kenny just be there is no cap. We'll hear from Kenny tomorrow. And by the way, not to waste time here, but this came in the mail from Kenny. And so he said it's a surprise and he wants me to open it during the show tomorrow. I have no idea what it is. I'm going to guess what it is. It feels like a t-shirt of some sort, but I could be wrong. It might be it might be a towel or something. I don't know. It's something soft. So I don't know if you guys want to guess, but I have no idea. So I'm going to guess before I open it tomorrow. So I'm looking forward to that. Just sitting on my desk right now. Actually, I was wondering if my son would grab it and rip it open, which I could see him doing, but he didn't notice it. He was watching Paw Patrol instead. Anyway, Saints getting Justin Reed. That's one of the good things they did this offseason. Justin Reed, really talented, great in all regards. He's still relatively young. He's 28. So I love this move for the Saints. Then again, it's what are the Saints doing here? They're not fooling anyone. They're not going to be that good. It's no matter what they do. So Pat's asking thoughts on Rodgers' landing spot and seeing Steelers rumors now. What would his outlook be with Pittsburgh? I think it's either Steelers or Titans. I think that would make the most sense to me. Tennessee, because he's friends with people in the front office and he has a home in Nashville, but Pittsburgh gives him the best chance of winning. I think he could maybe make the playoffs with the Steelers with that great defense and Metcalf and Pickens and an improving offensive line. So plus Mike Tomlin's a great coach. He always gets his team to a winning record. We'll see if that changes with Aaron Rodgers, but if Russell Wilson could get there, I think Rodgers can. So I think with Rodgers, they get to the playoffs to probably lose in like the first or second round. Sanchez, the Saints signed all these idiots for the void years to add cap flexibility going forward. Yeah, yeah. There's definitely some shady signings that they made. We'll get to them. Um, Patrick's Nick Foles, Bears, Jags, Eagles, Rams, Colts jerseys in the bag from Kenny. I could see it. I could see it. Um, yeah, I don't know. I felt like it might have something to do with Jalen Hurts because we had that infamous video that came up where we both said that pick was awful. Like little did we know that the Wentz signing was the awful thing. And like we just did a video about that, so I'm thinking like it might be like a Hurts shirt or something, but that's my guess. Ken Macon Eagles asking, well, nobody wants to be the Giants QB. Are you going to try out for the job? No, thanks. I'll pass on it. It might be a better opportunity. I don't know. I mean, they offered me the job. I guess I'd take it. I just like take a knee every every play, just because with that offensive line, I feel like I'd have a concussion right away. I don't think I'd make it through a whole game. So I don't know. Like if they offer me the job, I guess I'd consider it. It's pretty sad, but maybe they're setting up for Arch Manning. If they get the top pick next year, Arch Manning's definitely coming out. I'd have to think. Anyway, Cowboys signed Peyton Turner, 1 year, $3 million. They also signed Solomon Thomas. We'll get to that later. I think I gave them both B grades. Makes sense. They lost pass rusher this offseason. So adding to their depth makes sense. Peyton Turner, he's another one of those busts that we saw from 4 years ago, but he's only 26, so there's a chance that he rebounds. And you'd have to think that with Micah Parsons on the other side, that Peyton Turner is going to have a chance to produce. So we'll see. Maybe he'll be a late bloomer. Falcons signed Leonard Floyd, 1 year, $10 million. So I was confused about this because the 49ers cut Floyd. I assumed it was because as we've been having this issue today, I've reported it. I thought they cut Floyd because they're going to sign Joey Bosa to clear a roster space for him and cap space, but not that they need the cap space, but and then they Joey Bosa goes to Buffalo, so I don't know why the Niners cut him. But Atlanta pounced on him, and good for them. I think that he's going to be a good player for them. He's not, he's 32. There could be a decline, but he's still a good pass rusher, and he should be better than Matthew Judon was last year. Like Judon was such a disappointment, so maybe he's going to be what they expected Judon to be. Falcons also re-signed Mike Hughes, 3 years, $18 million. I gave this a B. He's coming off the best year of his career, but he's been inconsistent, so it's tough to gauge how he's going to do just because he's so erratic. But I'm fine with them keeping him. It makes sense. Here we go. Saints re-signed Juwan Johnson, 3 years, $34.5 million. Like, what has Juwan Johnson done to warrant this? Like, I know he's young, sort of young. He's athletic, so he has some potential. But this is insane amount of money. Like, I wrote that this is like the Saints laundering money because you're going to see another weird signing that they made. It feels like they just spend irresponsibly. Like, we joke about how they're the Federal Reserve of the NFL, but they really are. Like, they just print all this money. They throw it at nothing, like meaningless crap, like Russia, Ukraine war, like Juwan Johnson, like same thing. It's stuff like, if you bash Juwan Johnson, you're not going to get a bunch of weirdos with Ukraine flags yelling at you on X. But this is a weird signing. I don't get it. I almost gave it a million, but like I said, he's athletic, he's young, sort of young, and so maybe this works out. I don't know. I doubt it though. It just seems too weird. Buccaneers re-signed Anthony Nelson, 2 years, $10 million. He's a good rotational rusher. He's had 17 and a half sacks in the last 4 years. So, the Buccaneers also signed Hassan Reddick, which I gave an A+ to. It was 1 year, I believe it's $12 million. And so the Buccaneers, they haven't had a great pass rush since they won the Super Bowl. So this is kind of them getting back to it, adding Reddick to play across from Yaya Diaby. And then Nelson could be, the rotational guy. So I like what the Buccaneers are doing here. I give it a B. It could be a B+. Cowboys re-signed Kevontae Turpin, 3 years, $18 million. He's one of the most electric returners in the NFL. I hope they do more with him offensively. I think it'd be interesting to see him get more involved that way. But I don't really trust Brian Schottenheimer to come up with anything. But still, 3 years, $18 million for one of the best returners in the NFL just seems worth it. Browns signed Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, another one of these busts from 4 years ago. He just had 2 sacks last year. But, again, like I feel like a broken record here. He's young, 26. And so he could maybe improve. And it's sort of like Peyton Turner, who like Peyton Turner is going to have the luxury of having Micah Parsons take away attention. Tryon-Shoyinka is going to have luxury of Myles Garrett commanding attention too. So this could pan out, but could not. It's only 1 year, 4.8 million. It's not too bad. I give it a B. Cardinals re-signed Zay Jones, 1 year, 4.4 million. I give it a B. I was kind of confused by this because Zay Jones, he was productive in Jacksonville. He goes to Arizona, he gets suspended, he comes back, he doesn't really do anything. I thought like, hey, Christian Kirk's gone, he might go back to Jacksonville, but he re-signs with Arizona, even though he wasn't like really productive there. I don't understand why he did this, but if I'm Arizona, I'm getting a decent, solid depth receiver, so why not? For 4.4 million, seems like pretty good. Texans re-signed Mario Edwards, B minus. I think it's okay. I mean, he's an okay rotational edge rusher. Is not that great anymore. I think it's a slight overpay, but not an egregious one. So I give it a B minus. Redskins signed Will Harris, 2 years, $8 million. He's a solid backup. I think he's had an inconsistent career. Like he had a rough start. He had one great year with the Lions, then he struggled again, and then he played well last year. So who knows? Like maybe that'll continue. If not, it's not a big deal. It's only 2 years, $8 million, so it's not going to really hurt them if he struggles. Patrick says, I'm a Giants fan. I don't want to be the Giants quarterback. Living in New York would be a nightmare. Yeah, I think like living in New York in general just would be a nightmare for me. I'm like from Philly. Philly sucks too. Actually, my friend, he used to have this joke. He used to be like, "What's the difference between a Philadelphian and a New Yorker?" And the answer is Philadelphians know their city sucks. So I'm not a fan of either city. I just hate like big inner cities. I actually like live in the suburbs of Philly, so it doesn't really count. Mike says third down running back Ty Johnson signing was quietly very important. Yeah, I like the move. Plus like very cheap deal too, so there's no risk. So it was a big it was a nice haul. Let's see, this 49ers roster getting pillaged. Yeah, they've had some departures. They still have the easiest schedule I've ever seen. So I still think they can make the playoffs. They'll be healthier. And they still have cap space. Like, they could still do stuff. There's still good players available. So we'll see what they do. We still have a few more days of craziness. So, they could turn things around. Texans signed Laken Tomlinson, 1 year, $4.25 million. Tomlinson was once a good player, and he struggled since. Not sure what this does for Houston. Like, it kind of like stops the bleeding because they lost 3 linemen. They lost Laramie Tunsil. They lost Shaq Mason, whom they cut, and then they traded Kenyon Green. So, yeah, they get someone back, but at what cost? Like, it feels like CJ Stroud's protection is just shot. Like, I mean, Lefty, you just said 49ers got pillaged. Like, Houston's offensive line got pillaged. So, if I'm Stroud, I'm not too happy right now. Chiefs signed Christian Fulton, 2 years, $20 million. It's a good move. Christian Fulton's coming off his best year. He's only 27, so maybe he continues to do that, but he's been inconsistent. Still, though, 2 years, $20 million, pretty good. I didn't think corner was a huge need for the Chiefs, but I guess you can't ever have too many good corners when you have upgraded quarterbacking in your division. You have Herbert now with McConkey. You have Geno Smith being an upgrade over AOC with the Raiders, and then Bo Nix is in the second year. So it feels like the Chiefs need better corners, quarterback depth. Colts signed Daniel Jones. I saw someone refer to this as Indiana Jones. I thought that was kind of clever. But this is a good move for the Colts because it kind of like relieves what they need to do with Richardson, because like they were kind of in a pickle with him and I guess they still are to an extent, but with Richardson, it's like if you stick with him and reward him for his lethargy, like he doesn't practice hard, or do you bench him and like lose out potentially on the upside because he has immense upside. So now they have Daniel Jones here, and Jones he was bad with the Giants, but to be fair, like he's never had a good support system. Like the offensive line, except for Andrew Thomas, was always terrible. He's never had a number one receiver until Neighbors last year. And then he had Saquon Barkley initially, and then Barkley tore his ACL. And then the year after, Barkley was not 100%. Then Barkley comes back. They have a great year. They get to the second round of the playoffs, and then Barkley leaves. And so it's like Daniel Jones just really never had a legit chance to be a quality NFL quarterback, and maybe he won't be, but at least he'll have a chance in Indy. He'll have Jonathan Taylor, he'll have Josh Downs, Michael Pittman, a offensive line. They lost a couple of guys, but they still have some decent blockers, and Steichen, who's has shown that he's a good offensive coach. So I like this move. I think that they now have two quarterbacks who are young, and they can have a good competition there. And who knows, maybe both don't pan out. Like maybe they both suck. But I think this at least gives them a shot at having like striking gold with one of them. So we'll see what happens. I think the Colts are an interesting team. I don't think they're going to be that good, but at least they'll be interesting to see how these quarterbacks develop. Cowboys signed Solomon Thomas. I kind of mentioned this with the other move. It makes sense to add to the pass rush. Just move on. Vikings signed Will Fries. They also signed Ryan Kelly. So Kelly was 2 years, $18 million. Fries 5 years, $88 million. And I think people would be confused because they're more familiar with Ryan Kelly, who's a really good center. He just struggled last year with injury. Will Fries was great last year until he got hurt. So I like the Vikings getting two Colts linemen. Like usually don't see that happening. And whenever you add a lineman, you have to worry about continuity. But the fact that these two guys have already played together, they're going to be starting right next to each other. I think that's pretty good. And the Vikings have other good linemen. Obviously, they have two great tackles as well. So it's just kind of shaping up to be a great offensive line for Minnesota. And I said this before. I like Minnesota at 40-1. I think I bet them. I'm not sure if I did or was planning to. I'll have to check my sportsbook accounts, but I think Minnesota is like a good 40-1 shot to win the Super Bowl. Like they were 14-3 last year, and they're gonna have McCarthy now. I assume that McCarthy is not gonna be that bad because Kevin O'Connell is pretty smart with quarterbacks, and he was this handpicked option. And they have Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson's healthy now. Brian Flores' defense, and now they have two better offensive linemen. Just seems like this team is stacked, and I think they're one of the best teams in the conference. I think they're better than the Lions now because the Lions lost two coordinators. Falcons signed Divine Diablo, 2 years, $14 million. He's good against the run, bad in coverage. This is a bit of an overpay, but I think it's okay. So Atlanta needs all the help they can get. Dolphins signed Ifeatu Melifonwu, A+ grade. I love this move. Melifonwu was hurt last year. He barely played, but in 2023, he was great. And he's a young guy. Signing him to this prove-it deal, I think, is outstanding because you're going to get him at his best. And they need a replacement for Javon Holland. So great move, I think. Let's see some comments here. They got 4 comp picks, I think. Who are you talking? Are we talking about the Niners? Yeah, I think they were kind of projected to have a lot of comp picks. So those got released. So I didn't get to look through them because of the free agency stuff, plus NBA, and I was writing off a golf. So I'll be looking. I projected the comp picks, so I'm kind of curious to see how I did. Akine's underrated. I wanted Kansas City to grab him. Yeah, I agree. Like I don't get why he wasn't signed for more. How badly has Indianapolis offensive line been hurt by free agency? So yeah, they losing Fries and Ryan Kelly does hurt. But at the same time, they did have Tanner Bortolini. They drafted him last year in the 4th round. I think they're pretty high on him. So I think that's fine. And then the only hole they have right now is at right guard. And according to Charlie, they like Tyler Booker at number 14. Now, Booker tested so poorly at the combine, but he has great tape. And he's a great leader. So I think they're pretty confident that they can get him. And if they do, I think they're set. I don't think they're hurt that much because they like Bortolini and they also like Booker a lot. Lefty says, "Oh man, Rodgers, Metcalf, and Pickens in the same locker room, Leaks." Well, you never know. I mean, it could work out. It's crazy things have happened, right? Maybe short term, but it could work out for one game, for 1 year. I mean. 1 game would be bad. Patrick says Daniel Jones' first game, I thought he was going to be a Hall of Famer. 336, 2 touchdowns, 28 rushing yards, 2 rushing touchdowns against the Bucs. Yeah, I remember that. He had that comeback at the end. Did they win that game? Or I know he was driving to come back, or maybe Tampa drove and won. I don't know if they won the game, but remember that the preseason though with Daniel Jones, he looked like Joe Montana. Just he was so accurate and so great. Man, what happened? Because you had the preseason and then you had that game. It was man, this guy looks amazing. And remember back when they took him 6th overall, everyone criticized that because they're like, oh, you could just took him as 17th that same year. And then, people were like mocking that. It's a cost. See, people don't know. Like, of course, they should have took him 6th overall. And apparently, like, the people who mocked it were right all along. But, it's kind of crazy how, he just never lived up to the preseason in that game. Cassandra says the Lions got a third for getting rid of a black guy and giving him to the Jets because that's the way the NFL DEI works for some reason. I know. I don't like. I never understood that. It just seems like so backward. Um, it's so funny how that works. Like, it seems like so offensive. Like if anyone just looked at that and like, wait a second, you get rewarded for getting rid of your black guys. It's so dumb. But yeah, I don't know. It's something else. Anyway, let's get to these. So Vikings signed Jonathan Allen, 3 years, $60 million. So I just praised the Vikings. So Matthiasen, if you're listening, just chill out because it's the one bad move you guys made. I don't get this. Like Jonathan Allen, like this, if this were 3 years ago, this would be great. But he's struggled recently. He hasn't been that good. Last year he was terrible, and now he's 30. So why are you giving like a declining 30-year-old 3 years and $20 million per year? It just seems dumb. I don't know. But maybe Brian Flores can get something out of him. I don't know. Maybe he rebounds. Like 30 is not that old, but still, like he just hasn't played ball, so he doesn't deserve this sort of deal. Giants signed Javon Holland, 3 years, $45 million. So I wrote up that obviously Saquon Barkley was a huge loss for them, but so was Xavier McKinney, and here they go replacing McKinney. Holland's not as good as McKinney, but he's not that far off. He's really athletic, instinctive too, and he's a huge upgrade over what they had last year. So I think this is a good move. And I think he's cheaper than McKinney. I think McKinney got a lot more, so they could save a little bit of money. The Buccaneers signed Hassan Reddick. I talked about that already. Giants signed Chauncey Golston, 3 years, $19.5 million. I think this is a solid move. They get to steal a player from Dallas, and they get to add to their pass rush. You can never have enough pass rushers in the division with Jalen Hurts and Jaden Daniels, and I guess Dak Prescott to an extent. You need as much pressure on the quarterback as possible, and Golston can help in that regard. Patriots signed Josh Dobbs, 2 years, $8 million. Seems like a good deal. Backup quarterbacks who are mediocre tend to get $4 million per year, and that's what Dobbs is getting here. He's a smart quarterback. He should be able to help Drake May. I think this is pretty good. Giants signed Paulson Adebo, 3 years, $54 million. So they're paying this guy like a number one corner. I don't think he's the number one corner. It's like a number two. I think this is an overpay. He's still young though. He's 26, so maybe he like fills out into that role as a number one corner. But I just think that this is too much money for him. So C+, but I don't hate the move either. Patriots signed Robert Spillane, 3 years, $37.5 million. Spillane was great with Antonio Pierce, and now he gets to play for Mike Vrabel. So you'd have to think that Vrabel is going to be able to get a lot out of him, as just like Pierce did. This is a big need for them. They had the address linebacker, and Spillane should be the leader of that defense now. And I think this is a good move. I gave it a B+. Raiders signed Landon Roberts, 1 year, $3 million. It's a cheap signing. He's a 2-down linebacker. He's good in run support. He's bad in coverage, but based on this deal, they're not paying him to play in coverage. So he gets to play for about like half the snap, 40% of the snaps, and just try to stop the run. So that's what they're paying him for, and it's a good move. There's no risk to it, so I gave it a B+. The Cowboys signed Robert Jones, 1 year, $4.5 million. I think this is a slight overpay, but it's 1 year, so who cares? Robert Jones was starting last year, but really just out of desperation. Miami didn't have any other options. He didn't do that well, and I guess like Dallas is kind of desperate to replace Zach Martin here, so it feels like they could have gotten someone better. But it's 1 year for $4.5 million, so it's not going to kill them if it doesn't work out. Jets signed Andre Cisco, 1 year, $10 million. He's a good player, but he struggled last year, but he's only 25. So it's not like he's 30 and he's dropping off. Feels like he should be able to rebound. And this is a 1 year approved deal. I like those. So I gave it a B+. And the Jets have had issues at safety for years. So maybe Cisco helps fix that. Vikings re-signed Byron Murphy, 3 years, $66 million. Byron Murphy's a real good player for their defense. Brian Flores was great last year. And, part of the reason they were able to blitz so much is because they had good cornerback play last year. Byron Murphy was great for them, and so re-signing him is just pretty crucial there. Chargers signed Najee Harris 1 year, 9.25 million. So J.K. Dobbins last year was great for the Chargers, but he got hurt, and he always gets hurt. Like, you can't count on him, unfortunately. Najee Harris has not missed a game in his career, and like, yeah, you can rag him for just not living up to his first round talent, but he's kind of like Devin Bush, where I said, if Najee Harris is drafted in like the third or fourth round, and you look at the stats, it's like, oh, he's doing pretty well. He's got 1,000 yards every year. He hasn't missed a game. He's a good pro. So you have to look at it that way. Like, not Harris is never going to be that first round talent, but he could be a solid runner for the Chargers, a reliable player. So I like this deal, and he kind of like fits exactly what Jim Harbaugh wants to do. So I think it's a good move. I gave it an A. Here's another bad move: a money laundering scam by the Saints. 3 years, $51 million for Chase Young. Now, I don't hate this one as much as Juwan Johnson. Like, I could see the logic behind this. Chase Young's number 2 overall pick. He was seen as the next generational edge rusher, and he's only 26, but he just hasn't lived up to it. He's had a lot of injuries, kind of like sapped his talent. He was great to start his career, but ever since he got hurt, he just hasn't been the same. But maybe the Saints are thinking like, hey, like, we can get him to play up to his potential. But at the same time, it's like, did you really have to sign him to a $17 million per year deal? It just seems like it's pretty egregious. So I don't know. I said this is like, this is the Saints laundering money. So if you see any riverboat casinos popping up near the Superdome, then you know where that money went, or it came from at least. Dolphins signed James Daniels, 3 years, $24 million. I love the signing. The Dolphins had a weak offensive line in the interior last year. James Daniels, I thought, was the best interior lineman in free agency. So yeah, it's outstanding. Great signing. Achane should be thrilled. Tua should be thrilled. Just a great move by Miami. Broncos signed Dre Greenlaw, 3 years, $35 million. This is one of 2 really good moves the Broncos made. They also signed Talanoa Hufanga, the safety. So they bolstered the middle of their defense really well. It's kind of like the weakness for them. They're always good on the edges, but middle of their defense hasn't been that good recently. And so getting Greenlaw, who is coming off injury, or he was coming off injury last year. Like, this year he should be better. Same thing with Hufanga. I like what Denver has done a lot. Like, I'm not crazy about Bo Nix, but the fact that they've improved their defense so much, I feel like really strengthens their chances of getting to the playoffs. Cowboys signed Javonte Williams. Speaking of Broncos, Williams just, man, what a shame. Like, he started his career so well. Like, his first 4 games of his career were great. I think it was like 4 or 6. I can't remember. But anyway, he tore his ACL. And then he just hasn't been the same ever since. So this is Dallas here taking a chance. 1 year, $3.5 million seems pretty reasonable. And there's no risk involved here. And maybe he finally reverts to his rookie form. If not, they're not risking much. I assume Dallas is going to draft the running back in the first 2 rounds. So I don't think Williams is going to be the starter, but he should be a pretty good backup. Bill signed Michael Hecht, 3 years, $24 million. This is not nearly as exciting as the Joe Bosa signing, but you can never have too many pass rushers when you're dealing with Patrick Mahomes. Eagles just showed us that, and the Bills are pretty deep at the edge right now. So, like I said with Bosa, I think the Bills have moved ahead of the Chiefs, and I'm considering betting them to win the Super Bowl. I actually. In full disclosure, I already have, but with profit boosts. So I had a bunch of them. It was like 25 or 50%. And so I was able to take, like, I think they were at least 8-1 a book on Bet Rivers. And I took them 25% to 10-1. And then I had a couple at 50% to 12-1. So I bet them that way, but I have not bet them at 8-1 yet. And I think I might do it because I think they are the best team in the AFC. Patriots signed Matt Collins, Fred Flintstone here, 2 years, $8.4 million. He's a good number 4 receiver. Patriots need depth at wideout, so why not strengthen the depth? I think it's okay. Not crazy about this. Giants re-signed Darius Slayton, 3 years, $36 million. Seems like way too much for Slayton. He's a speed threat, but they're paying him like a number 2, and I don't think he's a number 2. He's a pretty weak number 2 for the Giants right now. So yeah, I think this is definitely an overpay. We've seen a lot of overpays at receiver. That's why I was so surprised Nick Westbrook-Ikhine didn't really get anything. I feel like Slayton and Westbrook-Ikhine are not that far apart. I know they're different sort of receivers, but still like overall talent wise, they're not that far apart. Like Slayton's a little bit better, but Yeah, 3 years, 36 million is a lot for Slayton. Bengals signed Oren Burks, 2 years, 5 million. Burks filled in well for Nakobe Dean when he went down. So he can be a backup for Cincinnati. They need depth. They need special teams. So Burks here, I think this is an A minus grade. It's pretty good. Panthers re-signed Michael Jackson, 2 years, 14.5 million. He's played well for Seattle and Carolina. I feel like this guy's underrated. He should be paid more. So I'm a fan of the signing. Gave it an A minus. I talked about Ryan Kelly as well when I talked about Will Fries. So yeah, let's see. John Sanders says we got Bosa. Unfortunately, it was the wrong one. Well, I mean, Joey Bosa is still good. Like, yeah, obviously you'd rather have Nick Bosa, but yeah, I know, you know this. He's not available. So yeah, I mean, I like I said before, John. I think this puts your team over the Chiefs. I don't know if this puts your team over the NFC winner. I mean, NFC is better, I think. But I think this gives you the upper hand over the Chiefs because you have so many good pass rushers now. Patrick says 3 games rookie year with 300 yards, 4 touchdowns, and no interceptions for Daniel rookie year. So crazy to fall off. Yeah, he's just never had the supporting cast. Like you have to wonder, like if he was protected well and he had a number 1 receiver, I feel like he would still be quarterback of the Giants right now. It just hasn't worked out that way. LFT says Indy's a playoff team if they get any consistency from the quarterback position. Yeah, I think so too. But they haven't had that, for at least for a while. Like they tried veterans, they tried Richardson. It feels like whatever they try just hasn't worked. It's like the curse of Peyton Manning. Even like Andrew Luck went there and like he had to retire early. So yeah, I don't know like what they're gonna do. It feels like one of them should do well, but maybe not. Kim Eagle says, you already pointed out the 49ers weak schedule, but haven't they lost too much talent to take advantage of it? I don't think so because they had a lot of talent last year that was injured. And like they're going to get those guys back. Like remember Christian McCaffrey, he played 3 or 4 games last year and he wasn't healthy at all. Like it was not the same McCaffrey. And so he's going to be better automatically. And they have a lot of guys coming back as well. So like Trent Williams missed like half the year. Like he's really their whole offense. Ian McCaffrey, like those guys are both out. And Debo was banged up last year. I know he's gone, but he was banged up. Pearsall wasn't available for most of the year. I know Ajax will be out, but they have Juwan Jennings, who's pretty good, and still George Kittle. So I think they're a good team. I think they make playoffs with that easy schedule. And like I said before, they have a ton of cap space. So don't count them out yet. Like they still make some good moves and kind of compensate for their losses. I keep them. That's exactly, John. That's exactly what Mike said. You keep them bubble wrap until the playoffs, and it makes a lot of sense. Out of all the signings, which one is best? I'd say Adams to the Rams. I gave a few A pluses. I don't know which was the best signing overall. I think one of the best moves overall was the Redskins getting Laremy Tunsil. Man, I don't know. Like we can maybe go through all the A pluses, but like there was. I don't know. I mean, Adams was a great move for sure. You'd have to think that like there are a bunch of really great moves that were made. All right, so we'll talk about Ryan Kelly. Panthers signed Sean Wharton, 3 years, 54 million. Seems like a lot for Wharton. I mean, he's a good pass rusher in the interior. He had 7 sacks last year, but he's undersized. He can't play against the run, so he's pretty limited. So I get the Panthers wanting to improve the pass rush, which was the worst pressure rate in the NFL last year, but man, 18 million a year for Wharton looks just seems like way too much. So he'll sign Malik Harrison, 2 years, 10 million. He's good against the run, not good in coverage. Feels like we talked a bunch about these guys a bunch of times. Like the first time was Devin Bush, and Malik Harrison's like a worse version of that. It's an okay signing. I'm not I don't hate it. It's a C grade. It's not very good. So Steelers could have gotten better. Dolphins signed Zach Wilson, 1 year, $6 million. Feels like this is like the opposite of what Miami needed. Like Miami needs like a sturdy backup quarterback who can come in for Tua. But Zach Wilson is not. He's like the opposite of that. Like he has a lot of potential. He's the number 2 pick in the draft a few years ago, but he just hasn't panned out. And I think with good coaching, maybe he will one day. But like the Dolphins don't need a development quarterback. They basically have one in Tua. Like they need a good veteran to come in for Tua when he gets concussed again. And I don't really trust Mike McDaniel to develop Zach Wilson after what happened last year. Mike McDaniel just really got exposed for just being a bad coach. once Tua went down. So yeah, I don't like this move too much. I gave a C. Colts signed Charvarius Ward, 3 years, $60 million. It's a good move, not great. Charvarius Ward's a talented corner. Downside, he's 30, so that's why B minus instead of higher. But this gives him a good chance to be competitive this year for the playoffs. And the division got weaker with the Texans just like dismantling their offensive line. So I think this is a solid signing, but not like amazing. Texans signed Darrell Taylor, 1 year, $5.25 million. He's had 23 sacks in 3 seasons in Seattle before going to Chicago, and he struggled there. But maybe maybe he rebounds, especially under DeMeco Ryans' tutelage, and he gets to play in a rotation. It's not like going to be relied upon very heavily. So a solid move. Again, a B plus. It's not much risk to it here. Titans signed Cody Barton, 3 years, $21 million. So Barton's good against the run, so he should help out a lot. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know. Like what are the Titans doing here, really? Like, it feels like this is the worst team in the NFL this year. And I know they have the number 1 pick, but it just doesn't seem like they've done anything to really improve themselves this offseason. Whereas, like, at least like Cleveland kept Myles Garrett. They're still going to be bad, but like I think Tennessee has moved ahead of them as far as like the team that might have the worst record. Panthers signed Bobby Brown, 3 years, $21 million. So I like the signing more than Wharton just because it's a lot cheaper. Bobby Brown's the opposite of Wharton, like whereas Wharton's undersized and can get to the quarterback. Bobby Brown's this big defensive tackle, and he's just a mauler against the run. And he's still young, he's still very young. He's 24. So I like this move. B plus, pretty good for the Panthers. Raiders re-signed Malcolm Kuntz, 1 year, $12 million. They gave him an A plus. I love this move. Kuntz missed all of last year. And he was like sorely missed because he and Max Crosby were such a great duo in 2023. And like Kuntz was not available at all. And then Crosby gets banged up and Wilkins gets lost for the year. It just feels like the Raiders defensive line, which was like really promising heading into the year, just never really amounts to anything. And like, I'll rag on myself here. I like the Raiders over 6.5 wins. But like, if you told me that like Kuntz would be out for the year, and then Crosby would get hurt, and then Wilkins would miss 3/4 of the season, like there's no way I would have taken the over at 6.5, especially with like Adams only playing 2 games with them. I guess you could have like predicted the Adams trade, but I think people on here call that. But the defensive line just getting like debacled by all these injuries, to quote Emmett. I think that that's something that you just didn't anticipate, and I think it's going to be better this year. But I still don't trust the offensive line. But at least they have Pete Carroll now, so more competent offensive coach, or more competent coaches to say. That should definitely help a lot. Jaguars signed Robert Hainsey, 3 years, $21 million. So the Jaguars lost their center, Mitch Morse, to retirement. So getting Hainsey, I think is pretty good. Hainsey was a backup last year, but when he had to start, he did well. And so he's familiar with Liam Cohen's offense, so that should help. So I like the signing. Give it a B. Packers signed Nate Hobbs, 4 years, $48 million. Hobbs is a great slot corner. He's young. He's 26. So I love this move for the Packers. They've had issues at corner, particularly in the slot. So Hobbs is just going to be a big upgrade there. Panthers signed Patrick Jones, 2 years, $20 million. So he can get to the quarterback pretty well. He had 7 sacks last year. He's only 26, so this has a lot of upside, and the Panthers aren't paying him that much. So I like this move. Jets signed Brandon Stevens, 3 years, $36 million. I don't get this move. It's a D. Stevens at least was decent in 2023, but last year he was so bad. And Evan and I always had these debates about the Ravens secondary and like how they can't cover anyone. And there are 2 culprits in that regard. There's Brandon Stevens, who just got torched all the time, and then there's Brandon Williams, who played safety, and then Marcus Williams, who played safety, and he got cut just today. So they saw these 2 guys leave. Jets signed Stevens. But I don't know, like, did the Jets not watch his last year's tape? Like, maybe they just watched 2023. I don't get why they paid him so much money. I know they lost DJ Reed. And it felt like they were going to sign Carlton Davis, with Davis going from Detroit to the Jets, like Aaron Glenn. And like as soon as they lost him to the Patriots, it felt like they panicked. And so that's why they signed Stevens here. So I think, I don't know, I'm not going to grade a panic move that well. John says, love the Metcalf deal for the Steelers. Also satisfied all of his demands, playing for contender, warm weather, and a stable QB situation. Yeah, I said on the Play Like a Jet podcast that that like someone gave Metcalf a faulty map, and like it's like Pittsburgh in the South. And so like, I hope he has someone like stopping him from packing up like all of his like swim trunks and beach shorts, like going to Pittsburgh. Like he's in for quite the reality check when he gets there. At least not right away, but eventually. So yeah, it's pretty funny that he just like, yeah, no boxes checked, unfortunately. Panthers signed Trayvon Merrig, 3 years, 51 million. It's a lot of money for Merrig, but he's a really good like in the box safety, great against the run. Not that good in coverage, but not terrible either. He's also 26, so I get this move. This might be like a B minus. B is okay. The Panthers need a lot of help, and so they're not like an ideal destination. Like no one's dying to go play with Bryce Young, so they need to overpay. So I don't mind this move too much. It's definitely a lot better than some of the other signings they had. Chargers signed Dante Jackson, 2 years, 13 million. So he struggled with the Steelers last year. He played better beforehand, and so maybe the Chargers get the good version of him. He's 29, so he could be on the decline permanently, but chances are he still has a good year or two. And I think with the Chargers, he'll have a chance there. They lost Joey Bosa, but they still have a good pass rush, so he could definitely benefit from that. Raiders signed Jeremy Chinn, 2 years, 16 million. So Chinn's coming off a solid year. He's going to run support. His coverage was fine too. And the Raiders have had issues at safety for a long time. And Chinn's a pretty good, a cheap option, cheap-ish option, like 2 years. And so yeah, I don't mind. This is not much downside here. Bengals signed TJ Slayton, 2 years, 15.1 million. Not that good of a signing. Slayton was struggling against run last year. Wasn't that good of a pass rusher. Just doesn't really seem like he provides much. He's just like a body. And I guess like the Bengals kind of need that, but still like $7.5 million for this just doesn't seem right. So C minus grade for that. Packers signed Aaron Banks, 4 years, 77 million. It's a lot of money for Banks, but he's good. He's not great, but he's good. But at the same time, I get this move just for the Packers because they needed to give Love better protection. They needed to give Jacobs better run blocking, and the Packers their window's open right now because like their contracts that they have for their top players are just going to get worse. So it feels like they have to go all in now, and so Aaron Banks kind of helps that out. Bears signed Grady Jarrett, 3 years, 43.5 million. This would have been great like 2 or 3 years ago, but Grady Jarrett, he was struggled last year. He got cut, actually. He's 32. He kind of looked washed up. I don't know why he's earning this much money. It just seems like a huge overpay. Now, like maybe he'll have like one more good year left. I don't necessarily think so, but there's a chance. So like I don't think this is like the worst contract we've seen, but this is pretty bad. It feels like the Bears weren't paying attention to last year. Jaguar signed Patrick Mekari, 3 years, 37.5 million. I like this move a lot. The Jaguars need offensive line help as much as possible. They already signed Robert Hainsey, and now they get Mekari. I think it's a pretty good move. Makari's a pretty good blocker, so should help him out a lot. Cardinals signed Josh Sweat, 4 years, 76.4 million. He was almost Super Bowl MVP. If I thought before that long pass that Jalen Hurts hit to Devontae Smith, I thought that he was going to be the MVP of the Super Bowl. So yeah, I mean, he deserves this money. He's gonna see a lot more playing time. He's had 37 sacks in the last 4 years, despite being in a rotation. Like he's going to be very productive here for Arizona, and Arizona's needed pass rush help for a long time, so he should help. 49ers signed Luke Farrell, 3 years, 20.3 million. He's a blocking tight end. I hate these deals. Like you can find blocking tight ends everywhere. It just seems like there's no reason to overpay these guys. I don't get it. It just goes back to like when Josh McDaniels spent a second-round pick on Dick Quinn, like the blocking tight end from North Carolina. It's like why? Like you draft the same guy in the 6th round. Like what are you doing? So bad move here. Bill signed Joshua Palmer, 3 years, 36 million. Now look, I get like receivers are overpaid, so this is why this is just a C. But Palmer hasn't done much to kind of warrant the signing. Or warrant the money. Like he had 769 yards a couple of seasons ago, and he looked like he had potential, but like last year he just really struggled, and it's kind of like lost faith in him. if they made this move a year ago, I would have been okay with it. But now it's like really you couldn't like get someone cheaper or like not pay Palmer as much. I don't know. But then again, like I said, these receivers get paid so much, so get it kind of used to it here. So I gave it a C. I don't hate this move. I don't like it though. Bengals signed Samaje Perine 2 years, 30.8 million. There was a time yesterday that like for like 20 minutes it was reported that Samaje Perine signed a $22 million contract. And I was like, wait, like what? Like I'm talking about money laundering with the Saints. Like that would have been like the most blatant money laundering ever. like what? Why would they pay Perine 22 million? Like he barely got on the field last year. But the Bengals need a backup for Chase Brown. He knows the offense. Obviously, he's been there for a long time. So solid move here at B. It's pretty good. Let's see here. Let's see. I hope the Bills enjoy the 6 games Bosa plays in. Well, that's why they keep them bubble wrap. So the 6 games are the 4 playoff games and the 2 at the end to get them ready. Arthur Smith, George Pickens, DK Metcalf, QB. What could go wrong? Well, it'll be fun, and it'll be the ultimate test of Tomlin having a winning record, right? It has to be. Johnson Steelers would probably be smart to run it back with us. Seems the moon balls are for Metcalf and Pickens. Yeah, look, I mean, he has a history of Metcalf, so I mean that does make sense. I just don't like him too much. I would have rather them kept Justin Fields, but yeah, I don't know. I still think Rodgers is better than Wilson. Palmer is free of Greg Roman. It's true. That's true. That's a good point. Haven't seen too many Millen grades for me this year. Well, we'll get to one. Don't worry. There will be one. So I talked about Hufanga. I thought this was a really good signing. Jaguar signed De'Ami Brown, 1 year, $10 million. Gave it a C+. He had some good games down the stretch last year. Just don't think he's warranted like $10 million, but he has some potential. He's still a pretty young guy, so maybe he can develop with Trevor Lawrence. Colts signed Cam Bynum, 3 years, $48 million. Gave this a C. Bynum is, he's at least he's a young player. He plays the run well, but he's been pretty inconsistent in coverage. I think this is an overpay. I don't hate this move, but it just feels like this is just too much for Bynum. Bears signed Deo Adenigbo, 3 years, $48 million. Gave this a B-. He's coming off a down year. So I thought that any team that signed him would get kind of a discount, but apparently not. Like the Bears thought they had to give him $16 million per year. Feels like an overpay, kind of like Grady Jarrett as well. So Bears, what they've done with the offensive line is pretty good this offseason. But as far as their defense line is concerned, like they've overpaid for these guys. Patriots signed Milton Williams, 4 years, $104 million. This is a C+. So Milton Williams has a lot of potential. He was in a rotation with the Eagles. Obviously, if you're in a rotation with Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis, like you don't get to play that much. And so when he's been on the field, he's been a big producer. So it made sense that the team would give him a lot of money. I just think that like 9 figures for a defensive tackle is just like a disaster waiting to happen. Like we've seen it so many times. Albert Hainsworth, remember he got $100 million, just like slacked off. Like once these guys get fat and happy, like it's hard for them to lose weight. And so like if you give a guy $100 million, it's like, man, you expect him to be hungry, he's not gonna be hungry. Jets signed Justin Fields, 2 years, $40 million. I think this is a good move. Justin Fields is still young, 26. Feels like I've said that a lot. And he still has potential. He could develop. He could be. We saw. For example, Geno Smith was a disaster to start his career, and then he turned out to be good. Sam Darnold, same thing. Justin Fields has like good ability. He just needs to be coached up, and he's going to have Garrett Wilson, whom we played with in college, so there's good familiarity there. And I think that this is a good upside. There's almost no downside here because this has a 1 year out. So if Fields struggles, they can get rid of him, and if he struggles, like they're going to have a good draft pick, right? So if he does well, then this is kind of like a mulligan for the 2021 NFL draft where they drafted Zach Wilson. And actually, at the time, I thought they should have drafted Justin Fields. So it's kind of funny that he ends up there. So I like this move. I think it's a good upside and no real downside. So I think it's pretty good. Jaguars signed Eric Murray, 3 years, $22.5 million. This could be $1 million, but it's not like an egregious signing like one we've seen. So, Eric Murray is just an average player. He's been a backup for 2 of the past 3 years. He's 31. Like, just doesn't feel like why the Jaguars signing him to this sort of deal, but again, it's not like he's getting 10 or 12 million a year. It's like, a little bit over 7 a year. It's just like, it's whatever. All right. Seahawks sign Sam Darnold, 3 years, 100 million. So I gave this a C. Sam Darnold had a great year last year, but he also had Kevin O'Connell. He had Justin Jefferson. He had Jordan Addison, and he had T.J. Hawkinson, and he had a good offensive line. In Seattle, he's not going to have any of that except for Jackson Smith-Njigba. Like the Metcalf's gone, Lockett's gone. There's no O'Connell. There's no Hawkinson type tight end. There's no good offensive line, and so this is going to be all on him. And I just don't see him panning out. I just really don't. And this is a guy who's had deer in the headlights looks in big moments. And if they do happen to make the playoffs, I just don't feel like he's going to do much there. So I think this is an overpay. I would have rather have seen Seattle draft a quarterback, whether it's like Jackson Dart or I don't like Milroe, but if they took a chance on him, I could get it. And they could try again later if they mess up. So I don't know. I don't like the signing too much. I don't hate it. Like I get it, but I don't like it very much. Rams signed Poona Ford, 3 years, $30 million. He's going to help them against the run. It's a really good run stuffer. So I think it's a good move. The Rams, like one of their weaknesses was the run defense last year. We saw in the playoffs, Barkley ran all over them, and he did as well in the regular season. So they have to stop the run to have a chance against the Eagles. Jaguars signed Nick Mullins, 2 years, $6.5 million. Solid move, good backup quarterback, not great. He's kind of the right price for him. And you need a viable backup for Lawrence. He's been hurt the past 2 years. Lions signed DJ Reed, 3 years, $48 million. This is funny. Like you saw Aaron Glenn go from Detroit to the Jets, and here you see Reed go from the Jets to Detroit. It's like they were traded for one another, even though they weren't. Reed's a really good cornerback, and he's a fairly young player. He's going to fill a big need. Carlton Davis is gone. And the Lions aren't going to have Aaron Glenn coaching up their defensive players anymore. So they needed more natural talent, and they're getting that with DJ Reed. Vikings signed Isaiah Rodgers, 2 years, $15 million. He's just, I don't know. He's a backup for most of his career. He's done well when he's had to start. So I get it. But I feel like this is a slight overpay. I'm not too crazy about it, but it's not terrible either. Patriots signed Morgan Moses, 3 years, $24 million. I don't know why you give a 34-year-old $3 million, but you have to protect Drake May. So I understand it. Like their pass protection was awful last year, so they have to give May a chance. And Moses, while 34, at least he was solid last year, so he could be solid for the Patriots. Patriots signed Carlton Davis, 3 years, $60 million. And so yeah, I mean Carlton Davis, he looked lost at times in Tampa. Like he started off his career great, and then he just got worse and worse. And then he's just kind of run out of Tampa. He goes to the Lions, and Aaron Glenn revives his career. So I thought he was going to go to the Jets to stick with Glenn. He's going to the Patriots, but the Patriots have Mike Vrabel, so it feels like Vrabel should be able to get good play out of him. Although, Vrabel's not a former corner like Glenn was, but still. I like this move. It's not my favorite. It's not amazing, but it's a solid move to help their secondary, and they needed help in the secondary. John Sanders, $3 super chat. Thank you so much, John. Really appreciate it. Says would give more, but these tariffs are killing me. I assume you mean the stock market, which you can make money on puts in the stock market. I bought. Did I buy puts the other day? No, I bought. You know what I did? I bought call options on Nvidia. When was it? It was like at the close on Monday, because the whole market just was awful on Monday, and I thought it could rebound, and it did. It ended up working out. It wasn't like an amazing gain. It was pretty good. But yeah, I mean, look, you can make money on the way down. You can make money on the way up. Because with the puts and the calls, I get it though. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, I think this is only temporary. I think we will rebound. And to be fair, I mean, like other countries have been killing the U.S. on tariffs like all these years. Like it's been brutal. Like look at what Canada charges us for all these things. It's like a one-way street. Like there's no reason it should be that way. Like I think reciprocal tariffs make sense to me. Stanley says, hey, Walter, the Giants land Aaron Rodgers. Would that put them at number 2 in the NFC East? No. Redskins are maybe even better than the Eagles. In fact, I think Dallas is still better. well, I mean, we'll see. I don't know. Dallas and the Giants is pretty close. But one of my kids is crying. But no, the Giants, no, they have a lot of issues, and Aaron Rodgers is not good. Like if this is Aaron Rodgers 4 years ago, yeah, but he wasn't good last year, so I don't see why he would suddenly be good this year. Um, Jets are known for rehabbing quarterbacks. That's 100% true. John Sanders on Steelers. Yeah. So yeah, John, thank you so much for the super chat. Really appreciate it as always. Thank you so much. All right, let's get back to the signings. Titans signed Dan Moore, 4 years, $82 million. This is a lot of money for Dan Moore. I get like protecting your quarterback. I assume that it's either going to be Rodgers or Cam Ward. And if it is Cam Ward, I like adding offensive lineman, but like, man, this is a lot of money for Dan Moore. Dan Moore is fine. He's decent in pass protection. He's not a great lineman by any means. So this is a big overpay, but I don't hate it. All right, so Rams re-signed Garoppolo, 1 year, $11 million. It makes sense to have a premium backup. I mentioned like if you rank teams that need like really good backups, like Cardinals and Dolphins in some order at the top, and then I think like the next year is the Rams because Stafford's 37. And like Stafford always gets banged up. Like he doesn't miss too many games, but he always gets like banged up. And so like if he needs to sit for 1, 2, 3 weeks, then Garoppolo can come in and like be pretty decent. Jaguars signed Jordan Lewis, 3 years, $30 million. So he's a pretty good slot corner, but the downside is that he's 30. So I'm not a big fan of giving a 30-year-old a 3-year deal. Especially at a position that like tends to like not play well into the 30s. So not a big fan. Here we get to the Millen grade. So as a new Redskins fan, I'm all happy. They trade for Debo. They have tons of cap space. I'm like, oh, what are they going to do? I think they trade for Trey Hendrickson at some point. And I'm like, oh, what left tackle are they going to get? And then I see the Redskins signed Javon Kinlaw, 3 years, $45 million. I'm like, what? I was so upset as a new Redskins fan. I was so upset. I was like, man, I was like, I can't believe I bet this team. I was like, can I cash my tickets out? No, I'm happy that the Tunsil news broke after, but man, this is so bad. It's almost like I was on Scott Mason's show, Play Like a Jet, yesterday, and I was like, this reminds me of is that movie from that Brendan Fraser movie back Flash from the Past or something like that. The one where he's like grows up in an underground bunker and he comes out when he's like 18, and it's like Adam Peters, the GM of the Redskins, like went into an underground bunker in 2020, and it's like, and he comes out and it's like, oh, I need a defensive tackle. Kinlaw was a first round pick, right? He was just a first round pick. Well, he's pretty good. And then he signs this guy without watching tape on him at all. Kinlaw, like he can get after the quarterback a little bit, but like he's so bad in other aspects. He can't stop the run at all. Like he's not even that good of a pass rusher. It just, I don't know. He's 27, so like there might be some way to salvage him, but I like, why would you pay him this much money? It just doesn't make any sense. So easy Millen grade here for Redskins. Bengals re-signed BJ Hill, 3 years, $33 million. They really missed DJ Reader last year, but BJ Hill was okay. Unfortunately, he's in his 30s, but if you're the Bengals, like they're not going to spend, and so they can at least like keep their guys. So they're kind of like graded on the curve here. Because Kinlaw signing was so bad, I sent out posts about it when Twitter wasn't even functioning. Just hoped it would go through. I was watching McAfee. He reported the deal. I thought it was a typo. Yeah, it was like 3 years, $4.5 million instead of 45. That would have been good. Twitter was not working at all yesterday. I thought it was on my end, but then it wasn't working on like any of my devices. That was apparently as a DDoS attack of some sort or something, or someone maliciously doing it. Sounded like some sort of country was doing it, was behind it. I don't know. Like I said, somehow I see Rodgers going to the Seahawks. Seahawks, even after they signed Darnold, and Cousins going to the Steelers. Cousins said he wasn't going to be traded until after the 2025 draft was over. So we'll have to see about that. I was Blast from the Past, by the way, was the I don't know why I thought Flash. Blast from the Past from Brendan Fraser movie. This is a good movie. It was pretty funny. We'll see what Cousins does, but it might not be for a while. Sanchez, I was writing text and throwing it into the void, praying that someone would see my warning. Yeah, I was like, I tried to tweet it a few times, it just wouldn't go through. It was frustrating. John says, when Twitter went down, I finally knew what my late grandfather went through when he stormed the beaches in Normandy. Yeah, it was a rough time. Yeah, my grandfather also fought in the war. He actually lost an eye in the war. But yeah, we now know we are brave for surviving it. Right. Chiefs sign Elijah Mitchell. It's a good move. I mean, they lost Pacheco for a while last year, and they needed a backup, and all they have is Kareem Hunt, who's not that good. Mitchell is like really unlucky here because McCaffrey didn't, or he barely played last year. If Mitchell didn't go down, like he would have been the starter over Mason, and like he probably would have had a big year, and he would have signed a big contract. Just like so unfortunate for him that he got hurt. But the Chiefs get the benefit from that. Texans signed Braxton Berrios, 1 year, $2 million. He's 29, coming off a major knee injury. Just don't really see anything here. But it's only 1 year, $2 million, so it's not like not going to move the needle at all. Bears signed Drew Dahlman. So I referenced that the Bears made some good moves. Their opposite linemen. They traded for Tooney. They traded for Jonah Jackson. Now they signed Drew Dahlman, one of the best linemen on the market. 3 years, $42 million. This might be in the running for best signing, John. I mean, this is great. Bears had almost nothing at center last year. Like this is a huge upgrade. Center is so important. Like people underestimate the position, but it really is like pivotal to a team's success. So great signing here by the Bears. Buccaneers re-signed Chris Godwin. I thought he was going to go to the Jaguars to follow Liam Cohen, but apparently not. He's going to re-sign 3 years, $66 million. He's 29, so he's not that old yet. He's not that young. It makes sense though. I mean, they get to keep the receiving core intact. Especially with the young guys developing and Mike Evans still there. Feels like this team could make a run. They don't have much competition in the NFC South, even though Atlanta's getting better. Feels like it's kind of like almost mitigates the Cohen departure because they're probably gonna have worse coaching, but at least they get a really good receiving core. Chiefs signed Jalen Moore, 2 years, $30 million. So is this the answer the Chiefs want? Maybe it could be. I mean, Jalen Moore hasn't had a chance to start because he's been behind Trent Williams in San Francisco. But when he's played really well. And the Niners thought this was their successor for Williams, but apparently not. Like, he left the team. I think this is a really good signing. I think that has a lot of upside. If you can protect Mahomes, if this is the protection Mahomes needs, then it's obviously going to really pay off. So I am a big fan of this one. We'll see. It could backfire because he doesn't have much experience, but I think the upside's there. And it's like this contract's not going to kill them if he doesn't pan out. Cardinals re-signed Evan Brown, 2 years, $11.5 million. I like this move. Evan Brown, very versatile. He can play guard, he can play center. And you need to protect Kyler Murray, as you said before. I don't know. We listed this twice. I don't know why. Anyway, Buccaneers re-signed Ben Bredeson, 3 years, $22 million. This could have been $1 million. If it happened now, I think I would have made it $1 million because it was early in the process. I don't want to saturate this with too many millions, but he was the weak link on the offensive line last year. So why re-sign him to a deal worth more than $7 million per year? I just don't get it. I don't get the signing at all. It's just pretty bad. Chargers re-signed Khalil Mack, 1 year, $18 million. This is a great move. Obviously, the Chargers lost Joey Bosa, so they needed to keep they need to keep at least one of those two guys that they had last year. So keeping Mack around, is going to ensure that they still have a good pass rush, which obviously you need to beat the Chiefs. We just saw in the Super Bowl. Panthers re-signed G.C. Horn, 4 years, $100 million. Really talented cornerback, coming off a down year, but he's 24, which is even younger than the 26-year-olds we've been mentioning. I can see this contract definitely paying off. He could be one of the better cornerbacks in the NFL in the future. Broncos we have another million grade here. Broncos re-signed DJ Jones, 3 years, $39 million. I don't understand this. He's a mediocre run stopper, and he hasn't had more than 2 sacks in any season of his career, and he's 30. So it's what are the Broncos getting here? There's no upside. There's definitely downside with this deal. I feel like best case scenario, he gets 3 sacks for them and is not terrible against the run. Is that worth $13 million per year? I don't understand. Feels like I'm almost and this is Mandela affected. Was DJ Jones really good this entire time? It's no. So yeah, this is definitely Millen grade. I love what the Broncos have done otherwise. Signing Hufanga and Trey Greenlaw, but like this DJ Jones signing is just awful. I don't get it. Raiders signed Adam Butler, 3 years, 16.5 million. He's also a declining player. He's 31. But this is not 3 years. What did he get? 3 years, 39 million. 3 years, 16.5 million. So definitely a lot better than the DJ Jones signing. But it's kind of similar, and like they're kind of like similar players at this stage of his career. But Butler at least is better at rushing the passer. So at least the Raiders will get something from that. Falcons re-signed Jake Matthews, 2 years, 4.5, 45 million. You have to protect your young quarterback, and quote unquote young, because Penix is not that young, but still, I mean, he doesn't have that much experience, so you have to protect him. And keeping Matthews around for 2 more years is pretty good. We get to the Rams signing Devontae Adams, 2 years, 46 million. So I give this an A- only because Adams is 32, so he could be in the decline. So that keeps it from being an A+. If this were like a 29-year-old Adams, obviously he'd be getting more, but still, like, there wouldn't be as much of a downside. Receivers tend to decline at 32. We just saw Hopkins decline at 32. Now, I'm not saying Adams will, but still, there's a chance. But he's definitely going to be a lot better than Cooper Kupp. So really good move by the Rams here. Seahawks re-signed Ernest Jones, 3 years, 33 million. He really improved the run last year. Not that good in coverage, but he was pretty instrumental in improving the run defense, which has been awful. So ever since they got him in the trade from Tennessee, he helped a lot there. So I like this move. Vikings re-signed Aaron Jones, 2 years, 20 million. Aaron Jones is one of those guys who, like, if he can stay healthy, he's kind of like J.K. Dobbins. Like, if he can stay healthy, he's going to be a big producer. Problem is, he always gets hurt. He actually didn't get hurt last year, which is like a very rare. I don't expect that to happen again. 2 years, 20 million. Even if he gets hurt, like, it's not going to really kill the Vikings. So I think it's a solid B grade. Patriots signed Harold Landry, 3 years, 43.5 million. Great move here by the Patriots. They get a great edge rusher. Their pass rush was 4th worst in pressure rate last year, so they really needed someone to get after the quarterback. Landry can do that, and he has experience with Mike Vrabel. So, great move here by New England. Jets re-signed Jamien Sherwood, 3 years, 45 million. It's a good move. Sherwood's a solid player. He's really young. He's 25, a lot of upside. But he played very well last year. So I think that could continue. Tons of upside here with the signing of B+. Broncos re-signed Jarrett Stidham, 2 years, 12 million. So it's a lot for Stidham, but apparently Stidham is just really good in the quarterback room, in the film room. It's almost like a coach, and like having that to help Bo Nix, like Sean Payton felt like that was really important. So I get it. I think that it's a slight overpay, but might be worth it. You're kind of like paying a player and a coach at the same time. It kind of makes sense. Bills re-signed Josh Allen, 6 years, 330 million. Like this opens up money for the Bills, or at least it did. They signed Palmer and Bosa, so I guess that's what they got from this. So you had to give an A+, and like keeping Allen plus rewarding him, like, you can't go wrong there. Obviously, it's a good move. Chiefs re-signed Nick Bolton, 3 years, 45 million. This is exactly like the Sherwood signing. I think they're about the same age too. A lot of upside here. Really good players at linebacker in both run defense and coverage. So good move here. Seahawks re-signed Jaron Reed. So I graded this at the time as a B or a D, because I was like, if the Seahawks draft a quarterback, this doesn't make much sense because Reed is 33. And so if you're going to rebuild, then it's like, why are you re-signing a 33-year-old? But if you're trying to go all in, like they are with Sam Darnold, paying him that much money, then it makes sense to keep this guy around because he's a good interior pass rusher. Cardinals re-signed Brandon Browning, 2 years, 15 million. I think this is a good signing. It's B grade. He didn't have like the sack numbers last year, but he played pretty well overall. Better than the numbers indicate. So I like this move. Browns re-signed Myles Garrett, 4 years, 160 million. I didn't like this move at all because it's like he's 29 now, and so when are the Browns going to be good? Like good enough to make like a deep playoff run. It's gonna be like 3 years from now, right? He's gonna be 32, and like at that point, you're not gonna get the same guy. And so, like, what are they doing here? Like, I feel like they needed to trade him, get a first round pick plus other stuff. start the rebuilding process, draft a quarterback, whether this year, whether it's Cam Ward or next year, with like maybe Arch Manning, or the year after maybe Arch Manning, or whatever, Nussmeier next year or something. They needed to start over, and it feels like this re-signing makes them like not terrible, but like still bad. And it's like I think this is just bad. Even though like Garrett's arguably the best defensive player in the NFL, like this sort of move made no sense for Cleveland. I just didn't like it at all. And this is the last signing because we got to the other stuff the other day. Redskins re-signed Zach Ertz, 1 year, $6.25 million. You know, Ertz is an older player. He's 34, so he could decline, but he's a good intermediate receiver. He was reliable for Jaden Daniels last year. Now he's going to be used less often because they have Devo, but you know, still like going to be a key cog in that offense. So I like the signing. All right, so we have some other comments here. John says Seahawks are the most confusing team in the offseason. Are they rebuilding or going all in? It's tough. I assume they're going all in with Darnold, but I do get it. It's like yeah, I mean, like Metcalf was not happy there, so I feel like they probably thought they needed to trade Metcalf, but it is kind of confusing. And they cut Lockett. Like maybe they can get him back. I don't know. Like they have nothing a receiver outside of JSN right now. So we'll see what happens. They still need a lot of offensive linemen too. So they have their work cut out for them. You're right though. They are pretty confusing. Stanley asking, do you think the 49ers will be at the bottom of the NFC West? No, their schedule is the easiest schedule I've ever seen. And they get players back from injury, and they still have cap space. Like I still think they're going to be good. They're going to make some moves. They're going to get better. I like them next year. Seahawks are treading water like the Saints. Yeah, feels that way, right? Like feels like they're just trying to be mediocre. Feels like I don't know. But who knows? Maybe they just liked Arnold a lot, and they weren't going to make Metcalf happy, and I don't know. It was only day 2 in free agency. There's still a lot of moves that are going to be made, and so maybe it will all make sense at the end. Kind of like I'm not sure if it'll ever make sense for the Saints, but like the Seahawks at least, like maybe we'll see some sort of plan. Same thing with the 49ers. Like they have they're kind of in shambles right now from all the departures, but they do have a lot of cap space, so they can make some moves. And the Texans too. The Texans are a team. It's like, what do they do with their offensive line? Tunsil's gone. Shaq Mason's gone. Kenyon Green's gone, although he kind of sucked. Like still, they lose 3 starting offensive linemen for a team that's trying to win now. Man, it just seems like they're kind of in rough shape. So we'll see what happens. Kimmy Canoe says not about that offensive line, those receivers. Who are you talking about? The Niners? I think if you're talking about the Niners, I think there's. I mean, I like Juwan Jennings, I like Pearsall, Brandon Ayuk's coming back, and they still have Trent Williams. Their right tackle played well last year, and you know, this is a good draft for offensive linemen. So I think that they're going to do well. But if you're talking about Seattle, then yeah, I mean their interior blockers suck. Yeah, he's talking about Seattle. Okay. Talking about the Seahawks, yeah, their interior blockers suck. Jason's good, but then they don't have anyone else. So yeah, I mean, like I said, like what we'll see if they have a plan going forward. It's only day 2 of free agency. They could sign a receiver, they could trade for a receiver, or you know, who knows? At 18, maybe they get Tetaroa McMillan. He lasted until 19 in the mock draft Charlie and I did together last Thursday. So. Could happen. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. We'll see. Like it's still a young off season. We may not see their entire plan. And then like once it all unfolds, we could be like, oh, okay, this makes sense. They're going to be pretty decent this year. So let's, we shouldn't judge them like, yeah, you know, we obviously could do it because it's fun. But you know, in the end, it just might look a lot different. You know what I mean? I apparently I kicked myself out. So anyway, I guess that's about it here for today. I clicked the back button on my mouse by accident. So Yeah. So anyway, I guess that's about it for today's show. I can't believe we ran through all the signings and the trades. It's kind of nuts. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching and commenting. Really appreciate it. And yeah, please hit like, subscribe, comment below, share this video. Visit the link in the description for the merch store. Once again, I have this package here that Kenny sent me. I will open it. I will open it tomorrow with Kenny, and I'm gonna guess what's in there. I have no idea what's in here. If you guys, it's like soft. Like I can like squeeze it. It's nothing hard. Very good. Progressive game. Women are great, but probably would be better off not voting. And my family immigrated to the U.S., so I certainly do not hate all immigrants. Walter MAGA football. Nice one. Yeah, that's something I said when I was trolling some people. Nice. I thought you must. That's yeah, yeah. Why does the mouse have a back button? I grabbed it and like it's like if you tilt the wheel to the side, it goes back. You know, and that's exactly what happened. It went back to the main menu. So I don't know why it did that, but it did. So no, I did not get Musk Tesla. Yeah, guys, definitely try to come up with some theories about what this package might be. I think it's a T-shirt, but I'll have to guess. I'm gonna try to like come up with like a good guess for what Kenny sent me. He said it's gonna be a great present. I'm gonna like it a lot. So I don't know. I don't know what it could be, but yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate it. Thanks for all the comments. So please hit like, subscribe, comment below, share this video. Visit the link in the description for the merch store. All that would be appreciated. And yeah, I'll be back tomorrow with Kenny. Tom is going to be on Thursday this week instead of Saturday, and we're going to have a special guest on Saturday. So stay tuned for that. Top 20 golfers. It's on the. I think it's on the site. So isn't it? Let me look. I guess yeah, might as well do it here, right? Let me load this up. Okay, so let's go to golf. I think it's here. I think I uploaded it. I'm pretty sure I did. There we go. Yeah, Players Championship. Okay, so top 20. We have Colin Morikawa, Scotty Scheffler, Russell Henley, who just won. Man, that's so rough with Henley, isn't it? Because we bet him at 28-1 at the Cognizant, and then he was in first place, or he was the favorite for a while on that Sunday, and then he just in the 11th hole, he just like spontaneously combusted. It just sucked. And so he doesn't win the Cognizant. I think he comes in fourth. And then the next tournament, which has a tougher field and is a worse course for him, he wins. It's like, come on, man. Like, he couldn't do this last week. He got an eagle in like 14 or 15. I can't remember which hole. And that won it for him because he won by one stroke. So it's like, man, couldn't he do that the week before? It's just, the thinking here is that Colin Morikawa was in the same position as Henley last week. He was in first place for like all of Sunday. Like, he looked unstoppable. He was hitting every fairway. And then like Henley just caught him with the eagle. Colin Morikawa has been great this year. He has 2 second places and a fourth. He's been awesome. He just doesn't have the win yet. He did have the lowest score at East Lake last year, which was the championship. He didn't win it because Scheffler started with the lower score, but he did have the best score in that tournament. And so Morikawa he's an awesome golfer, and this is a perfect course for him. It's great. He has what you need at TPC Sawgrass is great irons play. You need to be able to play around the green really well, and you need good accuracy. And like Morikawa excels in every regard. I think he has the edge over Scheffler because he's a better putter right now. Scheffler is kind of struggling with his putting, which like when Scheffler's on with his putting, you don't bet against him. He's just perfect. So, you're talking about finishing in the top 20. Yeah, I will do that tonight. I just didn't have time with free agency. Kind of like it's tough with free agency because like as soon as something happens in free agency, you have a signing, and then it's like, oh man, you have to kind of like get to it first. So that's why I'm kind of slowed here. But I will post it in the next couple hours. I have to go on Scott Mason's show, Play Like a Jet, tonight. So after that's done, I will post it then. So it'll probably be posted like around, let's say like 2:30 a.m. tonight or 3 a.m. But it'll be up in the morning regardless. Yeah, we'll have some top 10s as well. I was looking at them. Like, there's some pretty good top 10s. I think like Shane Lowry in the top 10 is pretty good. He's like plus 350 or something. And he finishes so well at this course. Great course for Shane Lowry. He's 7th here. And by the way, we do have a scratch. Alex Noren, I think, is 17th. He's a scratch this week. So I'll have to update this. But yeah, Morikawa, Scheffler, Henley, Fleetwood, Justin Thomas, Cantlay, Shane Lowry, Michael Kim, Rory McIlroy, Finau, Ben Griffin, Hideki Matsuyama, Schauffele is coming up injury, Denny McCarthy, Robert McIntyre, Sepulon, Straka, Noren's out, Putnam, JT Poston, and then Nick Taylor. Yeah, those are the top 20 guys. I'll be looking at the top 10 and top 20 props and whatnot. I'm also going to look at like make the cut props because this we're back to a normal tournament. Last week was like 70 players. This is 150, I believe. And so make a cut stuff. There might be lucrative things there, matchups. I'm going to look at everything. So by tomorrow morning, like everything will be up, Stu. So yeah, hopefully we get better luck this week because it feels like we're like kind of like on the cusp of like always winning this. Like we had Henley 2 weeks ago. We should have won that one. And then of course he wins. Like I'm just like kicking myself for not betting him. I know he didn't grade out well in the model, but like he's been so great this year. And so I hope that we get the same thing from Morikawa. So all right, guys. Yeah, once again, thank you so much. Please hit like, subscribe, comment below, share this video, visit the link in the description for merch store. I'll be back tomorrow, and hope you guys have a great night, and I'll talk to you then.